Get in that shot, brother. Let me get in that shot. Let me make sure I'm in the middle of that shot. All right, what's up, guys? Just pulled up to the gym, and I want to film a quick intro before I head in there and show you what I'm doing and how things have changed in my training a little bit. So basically, I did my 4-week block, did a deload, and then went to do the first day of kind of my strength phase where I was going to get more intense, build up the squat, really start building some strength. And my knees really hurt a lot, especially with the front squats. Shin splints were still there. Felt like my sprinting was just a little bit like kind of all over the place. Like I ran fast, but like my arms were fucking doing different things, and it just felt kind of janky. And I was like, it was really frustrating. Super frustrating. When I'm frustrated, I just try to learn about it. I just try to use it as a learning experience. So I went to Danny Foley's kind of information. He's like a fascia guy, Rude Rock Strength. And I bought one of his seminars, basically online seminar, and kind of just learned about different injuries. He mainly talked about foot, knee, and hip. And I took some big things away. And basically I was thinking it's probably something to do with my hips. And he talked about how maybe you have some different length tension relationships in the hip, and there's so much going on in the hip that's definitely possible, especially with kind of how I stand. I got one foot going one way, one foot going the other way, one foot's further forward than the other, and these imbalances are normal. Personally, I pull my groin a lot. I've got an injury on the left side on my knee here, and I just, shit feels like it could be kind of out of whack in there. And then I also learned about the foot a little bit, and I was like, oh, you know what? Like, the foot could probably be a little bit more stable, to be honest. And it's been a while since I've put some dedicated effort into training the feet. The other thing he talked about was how if your adductors and abductors, so your hips basically, your side hips and your inner thighs and like basically your side hips, aren't working correctly or functioning super well, your quads and your hamstrings aren't going to be as efficient. So I was going, okay, that kind of makes sense, because if my quad's not like working super efficiently and my hamstrings aren't working super efficiently, they're probably going to be super tight because they're trying to do way too much and stabilize the hips. And that may cause the knee pain because it's just trying to work so hard and it's just not as efficient as it probably should be. So that checks box. That makes sense. And then, so after watching that, I went and decided, hey, we should get some objective measurements. We should do some testing. So I hopped on the force frames we have at the gym here and kind of tested that adduction and that abduction strength, so squeezing together and pushing apart, so groin and side hips. And I was honestly hoping there would be just some super glaringly obvious thing where I was like, huge imbalance here, great, can just attack that, that'll fix all my problems. There was like some like slight imbalances on like the left and the right, but when I did retests, it kind of cleared up, or it kind of went the other way. So I was like, fuck, I don't really know. I'm not really sure. Also, when I go back and I look at my training logs and my training videos, I'm completely missing a huge piece of the puzzle. I have not been training in the frontal plane. So like side to side motions, lateral movements, have not done any of it. So that's probably going to affect how my hips are moving. It's going to affect my hip strength, my groin strength, my hip strength. It's going to affect that internal external rotation at the hip. So I was like, okay, even though these tests maybe didn't tell me a ton, it still kind of hurt to do the squeezing. I still felt some discomfort on the pushing. So there's probably something going on there. Also, Danny Foley also talked about how if you don't train that groin, it can get really like stiff and fibrous. So I haven't done that. So that's probably why I keep pulling it, right? It's really stiff and fibrous. Not very mobile. It's not moving well. So anyways, long story short, we're going to do like almost a 2-week block, I think, because I started this week. It's feeling pretty good. My knee pain's going down for sure. And that's probably because I'm not just like jumping and sprinting and doing all these things that are hurting it and squatting in that in that up and down plane of motion. But still, it's feeling really good. I feel like we're recovering, and part of the recovery process is just getting the pain down and getting the mobility back, and then going for that more pure strength of like that over 80% max. So anyways, yeah, we're going to train more in the frontal plane here, get some pain down, Try to increase range of motion with probably some more single leg variations, split squat type of stuff, step up type of stuff. And then we'll slowly put the bilateral squats back in, I'm thinking. But yeah, that's what we're doing. So I'm gonna go show you some of that stuff. Okay, so at first here we got our movement prep, really just focusing a lot on the foot and the ankle and just loading it in a whole bunch of different ways here, as well as the groin and the hips. And I'm just taking a bit of a shotgun approach here because I don't really think there's like one specific thing, and I just want to like generally increase strength and mobility overall. So just hitting a bunch of different positions, a bunch of different ranges of motion, loading in a bunch of different ways, and just trying to get a ton of benefit from that. Well, as inversion. But yeah, pretty much always dealing with the same injuries, and life's just going to keep throwing you the same lesson until you learn it. So I think I just have to address it, or we're just going to be constantly in this cycle of increased performance, get hurt. Rehab, increased performance, get hurt. So just trying to do it properly this time, take a more holistic approach, moving in the different planes of motion, build that strong foundation with the right ratios. Imagine building a cement foundation, but you have too much sand, not enough water, or you're just missing one ingredient fully. You might be able to put the house on it, but it's going to fall apart pretty quick. But now we're going to kind of do some more ballistic work with some extensive multi-directional hops to kind of load that in a more dynamic way now. Okay, so we're still going to keep some of our like approach jumping and sprint work, but we're going to go barefoot. We're going to go shorter approaches, and we're not going to use a rim, so we're just going to do some acrobatic stuff in the air with the ball, just to kind of work on that coordination, inner coordination. Shorter approach is going to decrease the intensity of the jump. The barefoot's going to decrease the intensity of the jump and the sprint, so we can still get some work in, but it's going to be more extensive, less intense, and allow my body to heal a little bit. Ooh. All right, brothers, quick little recap there. So we got in, did a whole bunch of movement prep for the feet, for the hips, basically just a huge warm up. And then we got into some dynamic hops, super extensive. And then for our more intense jumps, we kept the approach small. We were barefoot, and we just did dynamic stuff in the air with the ball, trying to work on my hands. Still get like a fun jump stimulus, also super good for landings. Then we went into our sprints, and I decided today we're gonna go for curve sprints, just exposing our ankles, our feet, just our like tissue in general to a little bit of that angle, which is kind of what we worked on at the start. And then we had to go to class. We came back, did a lift, bunch of stuff on the landmine with a Cossack squat into a curtsy lunge, just loading the adductors, the abductors in a more dynamic way. Yeah, just kind of going for more of a shotgun approach again, kind of hitting everything, trying to strengthen everything in that frontal plane. And then I went over and did a little bit more hamstring work with the switches. Honestly, I just wanted to try that one, see what it was like. I do a lot of like isolated, slow strength hamstring stuff, so I just wanted to see what that was like, especially since I feel my hamstrings a little bit tight when I do my sprints. So we'll see how that kind of works. Then we went on and just did some Copenhagen and some side planks. Again, just working those adductors and abductors in the frontal plane there, but more of in a static position. I'm just getting some holds, and honestly, my knees feel super good at the end of that. I'm just gonna keep this going for another week here. So we just did a whole week of this. I'll probably do another week of this. I might do some more intense jumping on Monday, or like might actually go and like do some dunks on Monday. See how that feels, but probably not do the sprints, probably still won't do the front squats. And then we'll just slowly build those squats back in, because I still think there is some value there, especially for 2-foot jumping, but I don't want to rush into it and kind of go back to ground zero. So I'm going to take our time with that. Till next time.